What's up everyone, Master Fox here today. I just wanted to talk to you guys about YCS Providence. I know I haven't uploaded a video in a while, but the results from YCS Providence are pretty interesting, and they show us that the format is truly taking shape and showing us what decks are actually good and the better of the meta decks. I've caught up with the metagame a lot since my last video, but some of the showings in Providence actually threw me for a loop, and I think they're pretty different than what a lot of people expected. Looking at the top 32, we see a majority of Cosmo decks, 13 Cosmo decks, 6 Monarch decks, 6 Performapal Pendulum decks, 3 Burning Abyss decks, 2 Magispector decks, 1 Magician Pendulum deck, and 1 Clifford deck. Right off the bat, we see a twist in what has been dominating the metagame so far. Monarchs had a decent lead on Cosmos in terms of event dominance, sitting at some 6 or 7% above Cosmo, and yet with this event, we see that Cosmo has over twice the number of tops compared to Monarchs. It'll be interesting to see if this trend continues, and whether we see a reversal where Cosmos become the most dominant deck in the game or not. Then we have Performapal Pendulums, which astonishingly have adapted and managed to edge their way in as the third best deck in this event. I think one thing that helped them out a lot is the fact that Monarch players are by and large opting to switch the XYZ build over the Domain build, which gives Pendulum decks some breathing room. Based on the results here, it looks like Pendulums are every bit as competitive as the big two decks, Cosmos and Monarchs. Following these three decks, we have Burning Abyss, which managed to snag a few slots in the top 32, along with Magispector, Magicians, and Clifforts. Talk about a ragtag bunch of decks. Looking at Magicians, I never ever would have thought the deck would have been doing this well, especially after taking what I thought to be unwarranted hits on the ban list. But maybe Konami actually knew what they were doing? And how about those Magispectors? People thought that the deck was going to be insane when it dropped initially, but it basically flopped. Only Kieran was the usable card, and Raccoon too. Yet somehow now it's back with a vengeance. And then we have Clifford, which I'm almost 100% confident, without even having looked at the deck list, that it's because of Card of Demise. And it's a Demise-based deck, probably using tons of floodgates like Rivalry, Necro Valley, and cards like that. Speaking of which, this is a major point of contention for people. Everyone was freaking out that these Demise, Clifford, and Yosenju decks were cropping up, and then what? One deck manages to scrounge its way into the top 32? It's not that impressive for the hype and fear-mongering surrounding it, but I guess a lot of people are annoyed at playing Floodgate deck. But seeing the results, it's not that impressive. What I think is more interesting, though, to consider is what decks made it through to the top 8 from the top 32. So remember the top 32 that I just recounted to you a few minutes ago? Now, moving on from that top 32 into the top 8. The top 8 cut was comprised of 2 Magispector decks, 2 Monarch decks, 2 Performapal decks, only 1 Cosmo deck, and 1 Burning Abyss deck. So consider the fact that there were 13 Cosmo decks in the top 32, but only a single one made it to the top 8, whereas all of the Magispector decks, all 2 of them I guess, made it through. So there's massive attrition for the Cosmos for one reason or another. Maybe a lot of them knocked each other out, but eventually, if the decks were actually that good, you would think that more decks would have made it through, but that wasn't the case. In the end though, PK Fire pulled through and ended up taking the entire event. I honestly didn't expect this at all from this event, based on what's been happening in the format up until now. But interestingly enough, I did initially think in my previous video, if you guys check that out, that on the outlook of the April format, that I said that PK Fire was going to be the best deck. While it won this event, as of now, I still don't think that it's the best deck based on the results that we have. But I do know that now the bandwagons are probably going to come up and all jump onto PK Fire, and the deck's probably going to have increased representation. But we'll see how that plays out in the future, whether PK Fire is able to take on the big dogs of Cosmos and Monarchs and take over them. Or maybe Winter Cherries is too much of an obstacle to overcome. But only time will tell with that. So this has just been a recent update and recap of YCS Providence. Tell me what you guys think in the comment section below. Give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you guys in my next video. Thank you.